run through a slideshow. Yep.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Heather, go ahead and take us live. Oh, looks like we're live.
All right, we are good.
Great. Thank you so much. Welcome. This is the March 30th briefing of the Baltimore City House delegation. I'm Delegate Robin Lewis. Thank you for joining us. This special briefing today is graced by the presence of our state comptroller, Brooke Learman. Thank you so much, Madam Comptroller, for joining us. We understand you have a presentation, and we would like very much, if your schedule allows, if there are any questions from the members, we'd
Sure.
love to pick your brain.
Sounds great. Okay. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Good to see you all. You're almost there. Happy to join you today. Thanks for the invitation. We're going to run through some slides just to make sure you know what we're working on. I know many of you will be having meetings, after session with many of your communities, and I want to make sure that you have materials and information because, of course, we touch and work with all of your, constituents. So, okay, Jace, if you want to go forward. So this is our org chart. So you can see Comptroller of Maryland, and then we have several different departments: Revenue and Operations, Public Engagement and Communications, run by Adam Abadier. Many of you know him. Another department is our Law and Oversight Department. Rachel Sessa runs that. Policy, Public Works and Investment, Ben Siegel. We have an IT team run by Rob O'Connor and more. Okay, next slide. So we adopted a new vision when I became comptroller to work in partnership to create a state that's more equitable, more resilient, and more prosperous so that every Marylander can reach their full potential. To implement that vision, we have 3 core priorities that are all underneath the vision statement there: make government work better, ensure the resources of our office reach the people of Maryland, and ensure Maryland is well positioned for responsible long-term growth and success. Next slide. So what do? We do a lot in this agency. We have about 1,300 people, and our headquarters, of course, is in Annapolis. And then we have 300 people at 7 St. Paul Street in downtown Baltimore, and then 11 offices around the state, our taxpayer services offices. We do a lot. In our CFO role, general accountant for the state, we balance the books. I sign our ACFR every year. We manage unclaimed property. We send you your paychecks, and your staff their paychecks. We also, of course, are the Bureau of Revenue Estimates, and we manage the mainframes for every agency, I think, except for MDOT. Of course, then I sit on many boards as an independently elected member, and everybody's favorite job that I have as the revenue administrator. Next slide. As the revenue administrator, we serve over 3.5 million or 3.2 million individual taxpayers, and they send us more than 5.5 million tax returns and payments. Last year, we issued over 2.5 million refunds, including 440,000 earned income credits, totaling over $500 million. We also serve 500,000 and counting businesses who submit millions and millions of returns and payments every year. So we serve more people than any other agency, and we deal with more businesses than any other agency. And so we have a remarkably high success rate of processing. But even when like 1% of cases go wrong, because our numbers are so big, that equals to a lot of cases. But that is who we are. We also, of course, administer unclaimed property. Last year, in FY25, we returned $121 million to Marylanders, which is very high number in the scheme of things. And that was even before we had fully implemented our brand new system, which went online last October. So I believe that now we will start sending out even more in unclaimed property returns to folks. We also can now send out unclaimed property proactively. So we regularly now, because of a law that we passed, or you all passed, that we helped, that we introduced last year, now we can proactively find people who are owed download money, smaller amounts, and match up all our records. And when we're sure we have the right person, send it out proactively without them even submitting a claim, which is exciting. But we do have a brand new unclaimed property site. I encourage you to share it in your social media. People are thrilled by unclaimed property. It is a big hit. And so just, I think it's a great thing to remind people of. We have a brand new system for it, so it's really easy. So when you're out doing community meetings, it's a really good thing to remind people about. And you all, passed the law that allows us to do this. We also now are really excited to be sharing the economic story of Maryland through our State of the Economy reports. Our report on last year, we did 3 reports on state spending, and then, of course, other research as well on the baby bonds because of budget language, on the EITC, and the impact of the federal government on Maryland's economy. And you can find all of those reports online. We also have started dipping into dashboards. We have our Com 360 dashboard where you can learn more about what earned income tax credits are coming to your area, as well as other tax credits. We have our federal spending dashboard where you can sort of do analyses on where different agencies are spending money in which different counties. And we have successfully launched our Board of Public Works dashboard, analyzing and providing information and more transparency about where BPW awards are going. Next slide. Last year was a big year of modernization. We launched our brand new website. We launched the first ever CRM in our agency, MyCom Connect. This year is also going to be big. And we are also in the midst of working towards a brand new fiscal management system for the entire state of Maryland. We've got about 70 other modernization projects happening too, from the ground to the sky. We're laying new fiber in our Annapolis campus and putting in new towers and conductors to make sure that we have cell phone service. So there is a lot going on in the agency to get it to a better place. Next slide. We also created the Office of Taxpayer Advocate through legislation. So that office helps handle tricky and thornier cases, and then also issues a report now every year. They issued their report on 2025 in February of 2026 to sort of do a look back. Here's some, last year we saw 80,000 walk-in visits in 2025 to our offices, 2.5 million phone calls. So they sort of do a look back at all the taxpayer services and where things are getting hung up and what some of the challenges are. Next slide. So, love approving items from Baltimore City at the Board of Public Works. I know the treasurer alerts you to these items as they're coming, and we alert the nonprofits and community groups when we know them for those who are getting capital grants. Last year, or just in January, I should say, we approved over $8.9 million in funding for rec and park improvements. And program open space money was available as well. Next slide. We also have money through DNR, through Rec and Land Conservation, through Parks and Land Conservation, and through a Green Space Equity Investment Fund. Next slide. We also do have an Office of Public Engagement now in the Office of the Comptroller. So Deli Okafor is our Public Engagement Officer for Baltimore City. She serves Baltimore City and Baltimore County. She is at engagement events around the region, including business visits, tabling at community events, small business roundtables, resource fairs, ribbon cuttings, and more. She is always out and about. So if you have folks in your district or community groups and you want to say, hey, the Comptroller of Maryland's team is happy to come present you with materials or share information, we can follow up with Deli and make sure that she knows so that she can go reach out and help in any way as possible at events, resource fairs, community association meetings, and the like in your districts. Next slide. So help us help you. We have many different types of materials available. We can do online. Deli and I can do online presentations for community groups. We can bring materials, as you can see there. We have a number of materials available in multiple different languages. We also have social media toolkits. We're updating some of them now, but if you go to marylandcomptroller.gov, on the left-hand top of the left, you'll just see something that says social media toolkits, and you can go there and use any of the graphics that you want to download, to share, whether it's on the earned income tax credit, where we're doing a huge push, and elsewhere. So would love you to help us get the word out to your constituents about all of the resources that we have. Next slide. Here's just a little bit about where we are on the numbers. We, of course, distribute large dollars across many funds and entities, local income taxes, A&A taxes, and more. These are just a few of the different sources of those monies as well. But thought this was just sort of a quick snapshot of where some of the money goes. Next slide. So what has changed since our December estimate? You probably saw at our March Board of Revenue Estimates meeting. We saw little net change, positive growth overall. We've had about 4.1% growth in our withholding since last July 1st. So year to date, fiscal year to date, about 4% growth. Our economic forecast is consistent with prior forecasts. We expect this slow growth in calendar 2026, but it is, we are still growing. We are positive. Of course, this is a time of extraordinary complexity, not just new taxes at the federal, or not just tax changes at the federal and state level last year, but also, diminishing dollars from the federal government, changes in SNAP and benefits, not to mention right now, huge increases in gas prices. So it's just it's a challenging time to make estimates, but our estimates have proved remarkably on point, which, I am very proud of, because I think it's really important for you all to have that certainty. So when you pass a budget like you just did, that we won't have to go in the middle of the year and cut it because our estimates were wildly off. So it's really important that we try to hew as closely as possible to the estimate, or to where things actually are. Some just in this slide, just a number of other sort of challenges in terms of the uncertainties. Next slide. So a few things coming up this year. A big one for everybody to know is that we are moving our entire personal tax system to a brand new system in August. It has taken a few years to get here, but this is really essential. We moved all of our business taxes in February of 2024. So now we're moving the rest, all of our personal taxes, fiduciary, PTEs, in August. This is a massive project, like a once in two generations project. And the first time that we've moved from the legacy mainframe into the cloud. So this is just a really big deal, and is a ton of work for the folks who are processing taxes right now. They're also having to get ready for this. Our IT team is working on processing. They're also getting ready for this. So there's a ton of work happening that is both, doing the work of the agency, but also preparing to shift. August is the only time we can do this, because we have tax season now, then we do cleanup, then then we have August, and then there's a tax season that happens again in September, October, November, when sort of late filers. So this is the only time we can do this, and we're excited to do it. Nervous, but excited. And so hopefully it goes well and you hear nothing. No news is good news. We are also moving all of you and all state employees into a brand new payroll system. We are moving away from POSC, which is our legacy system, to Workday. January 1st, 2027, you will start being paid in Workday. You'll still be able to access your old account in POSC, but everything new from then on will be in Workday. The modernization of our financial system, I mentioned, that will be the largest IT change in state history. It is every agency involved in it, including really every agency because it's how we pay. It will help with some of the challenges that you've seen around audits as well and increase transparency. We are moving branch offices, so we just opened one in Bel Air. We're moving one to Rockville from Wheaton, and we're changing locations in Frederick this year as well. And we're going to be doing some additional, some of our policy research reports on the first one will be on healthcare, on the healthcare industry, I should say, and cost growth and what it means for Maryland's economy. Next slide. Thank you. That's it. So try to keep it a little short, but happy to answer any questions. And hope that you will go to marylandcomptroller.gov and check out our social media toolkits. We send you monthly emails about the work that we are doing. Your staff, I assume, gets them, but just so you know, we do send you monthly reports on everything going on. Thanks.
Madam Comptroller, thank you so much. I personally brag about you all the time to remind people how fortunate we are to have someone so committed, hardworking, and visionary leading our state's financial system. Really, it's incredible. I personally want to thank you for the lost property service. I personally benefited from that. I never imagined. It was amazing. It was amazing. I got a notice in the mail. I filled out a form. This is, I think, before the new system came online.
Sure.
But you've entered that role and you've immediately started building an agency that is accountable, transparent, forward-looking. You're providing incredible reports for us.
Thanks.
And I could go on and just,
Thanks. We're excited. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do. We're doing our best, but thank you. And
You're doing great.
thank you to all of you for the support. Again, this year in the budget, we received some taxpayer services pins for our call centers. We're really underwater in terms of taking calls. We don't have even close to the number of people we need. So you all put 25 additional pins in the budget, and I really appreciate that. We'll have them ready to post on July 1st so we can recruit people in as soon as possible and get on the phones. Thanks.
That'll make a big difference. Thank you. So members have questions. I'll go first to Senator Washington and then to Delegate Stinnett. Senator Washington.
Again, thank you. Thank you so much, Comptroller. And again, I enjoy seeing spreadsheets and projections and just really the clear vision of what you started with this office. I'm also having worked for the Housing Authority of Baltimore City prior to this work, and being a part of some multiple attempts to transition from a legacy system into many to just kind of give up halfway through, and you just end up just knowing how important that is and just key. I wanted to ask you about the revenue distribution structure for cannabis sales, if I could and I just think it would be helpful for us, in particular Baltimore City, as well as anybody else who's interested in that. So just how does it work? So right now, cannabis sales and use tax rate is like 12%, or we're going from like 9 to 12%. Where are we now with the
Where
tax?
are we for?
That's
a good question. I wonder if I can. I was thinking I would try to share. We put out a report every quarter on the money that's been brought in and where it's going.
Right.
Because I know that a lot of people have an interest in this. So we collect it and then we put out the report so you can see how much is coming in. It's all in a special fund that you all, or several special funds that you all created. And so it goes to the statutorily required places. It's 3%. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Well, can I just ask you just more, actually the mechanics, like the taxes are calculated at the local level at the point of sale, correct? So it's either 9% or 12%. I think we increased it starting last July to 12%.
Yep.
So those revenues are collected by jurisdiction. do each of
No, it's a sales
yeah,
tax,
how
so
does
it
it work?
gets
Right.
instantly remitted to the state.
Okay.
So it is just like if you were to buy something at a 6% rate, like buy a t-shirt at 6%, the sales tax comes in to us.
Right.
It comes to the state. So we collect it all. It's in certain designated funds. And then out of those funds, we keep track of, where it's come from and we send it back.
And so as a part of your requirement, there was the calculations of how, well, first, so 25% goes to the general fund.
Yes,
Those money.
so I have
And
to
how
do
does
it
that work?
backwards. It's 35% to the Community Reinvestment and Repair Fund,
Right,
5% to the counties, right, to the county itself, 5% to the Public Health Fund, the Cannabis
right,
Public Health Fund,
right.
5% to the Cannabis Business Assistance Fund, and then the remaining to the State General Fund.
Well, 5% goes to local jurisdictions and counties, correct?
Yes,
Or how does
that
that?
was the second one I said. Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. I
Yep.
missed that.
Yep.
So, and then how is that calculated? Is that calculated based on, is it just, okay, what's left, the last 5% just gets divided up evenly among the counties or?
No, it's 5% of whatever's brought in to the
Great,
county.
great, okay.
Yep. Yep.
And then before that, there's some operating costs of the cannabis regulation, right? So what comes off the top? So before, what comes off the
I
top?
don't think we get anything off the top.
Really?
This is the only tax I think that we don't get something off the top.
I guess I read it as there's an initial allocation that goes to the general fund of 25%, and I guess we could follow up. And then there's
Oh, I thought you meant to us. Usually
no,
we get
not you as the
to like
comptroller. No.
calculate, but we
Sorry.
don't. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
You,
Sometimes we get a piece to do the administration, but I know we don't get any from cannabis. So
yeah, we could fix that. But there's 25 that goes off the top to the general fund. That's to the benefit of all of us.
So how I think of it about it is like 35 to the reinvestment fund, 5% to counties, 5% to public health fund, 5% to the business assistant fund, and then everything else, which is more than 25% to the state's general fund.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't take up everyone's time. I always thought it was off the top, the 25%, and then off the top, the cannabis regulation, the operating, what was the Cannabis Administration, which is now the Department of Social and Economic.
We can get you I can tell,
Thanks.
like,
I
I don't
just,
know. Yeah,
yeah,
I can't sort of explain sort of operationally
I know,
exactly how we
yeah,
do
yeah.
it, but those are the percentages that I know. So I'm happy to have Michael or someone on our team follow up with you.
And then just for Baltimore City, and then colleagues, why I raise it is that there's that 35%, and Baltimore City, we're one of the ones that gets the largest percent of that 35%, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then how does that go? So that money then would go, that goes where? You write a check or you make a transfer to where in the city? Does it go to
I think it just goes to the state finance off, but to the, not state, city finance officer, but I'd have to look.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you for that. I just wanting us to, again, as legislators, and these are state funds, right? These are state generated funds. Our accountability. And also I want to thank your office so much for helping to draft some of the initial sort of guidelines and things around this. And I just think this is something that we really want to, given how funds are allocated and used, that we really protect these funds, especially given their source. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Deb.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I'll go next to Delegate Stinnett and then to Delegate Ruff.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, Comptroller Learman. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. It's just having bad connectivity. But anyway, no, I don't have a question. I just want to say that, the questions that I have, your team very well versed and is always there when I
Great.
need questions to be answered, especially even particularly available for the community. From Delhi to Adam to Clem, everybody has been very supportive and especially
Great.
providing the research or the information that you have showed during your presentation as well. So I just wanted to sort of give a compliment of
Great.
that. Thank you to your staff.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Obviously, you guys always know me. If something ever is not getting answered, just let me know. But we have a great team. I'm really proud of them and so delighted to hear that they're being responsive. Yay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Stinnett. Delegate Ruff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good afternoon, Madam Comptroller. Great to see you. And as always, you are super thorough, and we really appreciate the resources that you provided to us today. I hope to take advantage of those. And just had one or two questions, if possible, just to get your feedback on some aspects of the session that I've been able to glean in subcommittee work. So I wanted to know if you could talk with us. Hold on, I had some notes here and I just lost them. Oh my goodness. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Sorry.
All right. In our work on the Health and Social Services Subcommittee, we've seen recurring fiscal and operational shortfalls with the Department of Human Services that are being addressed year to year rather than in a structural way. From your perspective, are we really understanding the real cost of delivering core human services in Maryland, and how would you kind of help guide that department to have a more realistic baseline budgeting approach so that we can provide those services, in a very, very efficient and effective way?
Sure. That's a great question. Probably Senator Hayes could answer that better since he actually works in a local affiliate of DSS. I mean, look, I think this is a challenge with many of our state agencies that we inherited agencies that had been sort of traditionally under budgeted and understaffed. And then when we sort of fill the pins and start, actually figuring out how much programs cost to run, it's more than is budgeted for them, right? So that is a recurring theme, I think. I don't want to speak for Secretary Weissman. He's our budget secretary, and he can say this better than I can. But I'll just, speak from my own experience. Like, when we fill our pins, what it means is that we'll end up with a deficiency because how we budget in this state is with a higher level of turnover than the one that my agency has. Now, another agency may have that high rate of turnover, so they wouldn't need a deficiency for staff, right? So I think, there's just long-standing challenges, I think, that we did not create, but that we've inherited and that probably, warrant longer conversations. But I think, certainly if anybody's up to the task, like Secretary Weissman understands how the system works and what we need to do. So he and I are on many boards together, and we've already talked at our last pension meeting. We were chatting about sitting down this summer and sort of going over some of the recurrent issues that lead to under budgeting. But I do think that our agencies were really starved for a long time. And so you all, and we have not been told, just don't know, like we don't know the true cost of what it takes to run a fully budgeted agency in different ways. And that's not just DHS, right? I think it's multiple agencies. So, I mean, even as, we can get really into the guts of government, like how often should we give people a new laptop, right? I mean, in Baltimore County, they get a new laptop every 3 years. At the state, we budget it for every 5 years. Like, who has a laptop that they take home every night that lasts for 5 years? Like, no one. I mean, it's just very, So I just, it gets really down into the nitty-gritty of how to budget for government services. And so there are I think there are just questions on how to make sure that we meet the moment and can plan for the future. And I know Secretary Weissman takes this very seriously, and I'm excited to be a partner to make sure I can share my experiences in my agency and what we're seeing from the General Accounting Division as well.
Awesome, thank you. If I may, Madam Chair, have just one other question.
Please
Perfect.
go ahead.
Okay, I thought I saw you nodding. I didn't mean to anticipate, but thank you. And of course, thank you, Madam Comptroller. We talked briefly in the House office building about my exploring the expansion of the catalytic revitalization tax credit. And I was wondering if you could just give us your impression on guardrails or guidelines that or initiatives that could help to ensure that those credits are actually driving equitable economic activity in historically disinvested neighborhoods, rather than just, subsidizing projects that are already likely going to happen. For instance, I think I had mentioned to you that I had proposed expanding the tax credit by double and then making it more frequent as opposed to every other year. And then also orienting it around TOD development. Unfortunately, we couldn't really get that done in the House this year. And I just wanted to know what you thought might be feasible, considering, our fiscal, not instability, but I think you were mentioning, with the federal kind of landscape of our fiscal situation, how we can ensure that we're using those tax credits to the best for Marylanders.
Sure. I mean, that's a great it's a great question. It's certainly become an important tax credit. I think, through my role on the Maryland Community Investment Corporation, I chair the board there. And one of the things we're really, I think that MCIC is interested in is really working to understand which tax credits are truly helpful in investing in under-resourced areas, and making sure that MCIC then can understand where the gaps are and see if there's federal dollars, in terms of new markets tax credits for future growth and future development. It's a hard question that I don't know that I can answer right now on how do we determine, what we're able to do in a time, when we have these budget challenges. I think tax credits are can be incredibly useful tools, but I think we need to think of them in terms of like the long term, where we are focusing over the long term, because it adds up quickly. And I think also important for us to remember that it is still spending money, right? We are, even though it's called a tax credit, it's money that we're not bringing in. And so it has to have a real ROI. And you want to do the best you can to make the case that but for this credit, that this development would not have happened. And so, I think there certainly DHCD and others are interested in those questions as well. But certainly would be happy to connect you to Michael Pokorny at MCIC. He's the executive director of MCIC, to talk through all the different tools and how we're thinking about how MCIC is trying to play a helpful role over the long term and making sure that that we're thinking about this in the right way.
Thank you so much, Madam Comptroller. Keep on doing the thing. You are doing an amazing job, and we are here to support you in the best way we possibly can. So thank you so much. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Delegate Ruff, for your questions. Any other questions from members? If not, I will ask one. And then we'll let the Comptroller get back to her 70 infrastructure projects. Madam Comptroller, I'm curious if you're anticipating any challenges with the rising cost of fuels on our state economy. And I know you'll provide us with a
Yeah,
thorough report
good
to come,
question.
but what are you thinking now?
Yeah, I mean, look, the more that people are spending on gas, the less they have to spend on, groceries and dinner and out and goods for themselves and their families. And so then that can it can translate into higher gas taxes and lower sales taxes, which is great for the TTF and not great for the general fund, right? So it's a real, people's spending habits may shift dramatically given how high gas taxes are right now. And I think it will, certainly is putting a real strain on many people. I mean, I even just think about like TSA agents who have been unpaid, needing to drive to work, right? And it's like costing them all this money and then they don't get paid at work. So it's certainly a challenge for many working families. 40% of Maryland families are ALICE designated, which is that United Way designation of asset limited, income restricted. So I think, working sort of low income working families. So this is going to put a real dent in many families' bottom lines, and it's going to be really, really challenging. I think, there's a number of things are keeping an eye on as well, like not just savings, but also spending and debt. We have higher credit card debt in Maryland than the national average. For instance, we saw spending at restaurants decrease last year across the whole state. Any restaurant type. So our restaurants that served liquor, their revenues went down a little less than restaurants that don't serve alcohol, but still all restaurants were down last year. So people are our core sales tax is holding, but with the increase in gas prices, I just don't know if that will last. We have February revenues in now, but we don't have March in yet. So we'll see what happens. Sometime later in April, we'll be able to look and see if there was a change in March.
Something that we'll keep an eye on. And of
Sure.
course, our constituents are looking to us for guidance, for relief where needed. And I know that we can always turn to you for expert advice as well.
Nice.
Madam Comptroller, we are so grateful for your time. You were flexible and let us start a
Sure.
little later.
No
If there are no
problem.
other questions from members, one final closing question. Would your PowerPoint slides be made available for
Oh yeah,
us?
we can send. Jace is everybody say hi to Jace, the man
Hi,
behind the
James.
curtain. Jace is a member of our government affairs team. He's been super helpful in um, this session and delighted to have them send over to you, Chair Lewis. Thank
That
you.
would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
So we look forward to seeing those and sharing them with members who weren't able to join us. A lot of folks had leadership meetings this
Yep.
evening, but you are our favorite Baltimore comptroller, state comptroller, and we just appreciate you and your
Likewise.
wonderful team. So
Likewise. Keep in touch. Thanks,
we
everyone.
will.